and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stockbox interview.
Paul Johnson, the CEO of Power Metal Resources, is joining us today on Stockbox. Paul, good to see you. How are you?
Hello, Mark. I'm fine. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing very well. Thank you, Paul. So we're going to talk today about the dual model that the company is exploring. That is, of course, where you've got exploration and spinouts. So you already stated that's the intention of the company, and of course the RNS earlier in the week on Canada. That looks like it started to happen. So can you just explain a little bit about how it all works? What's the business model behind that? How does it generate value, and why is it good? Why is it the model you're following?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think it's important for the junior companies to do things a little bit differently from time to time. And, we've got used to, in our markets, see companies raise a bit of cash, spend a bit of money, pay themselves some nice salaries, go and raise more money. And to a certain extent, the shareholder isn't the focus. It's about keeping the wheels of the company spinning. Some of those companies, perilously few, find something of substance and go up in value dramatically. You look at the Greatland Golds, Eurasia Mining, and those are the two staples in our market, but there's others as well. But most of them fail, and in most cases, investors will lose their capital and in our space, and it won't be a success. So I think it's about time that a few of the companies actually innovate and develop proper businesses, which is exactly what we're doing at Power. And that's why the dual model came in, because it's a combination of large exploration programs over major district scale targets in some cases, combined with spinouts creating value on the balance sheet to build the financial strength of the company over a relatively, I hope, short period of time.
Okay. And you started then, how do you decide which companies to spin out then? Obviously Canada is perhaps the first one that's going to do this.
Well, we've actually got three in process at the moment. We've talked about the Australian gold joint venture and spinning out the Victoria goldfields interests effectively in whole or part. Now, that's a very large, substantial interest. And we've noted over a period of time that the Canadian market seems to have a real affinity with Victoria goldfields opportunities. So it's a natural home for that particular core set of interests. We've also talked about Kanye Resources, the strategic joint venture with Kavango going into a listing. That's strategic district scale Kalahari Copper Belt opportunities together with the Ditto Project rare earths opportunity. So that's the second one. And then Silver Peak is the third one. And Silver Peak is a very recent addition into the portfolio. We did the deal finally back in September last year. We've worked on the project, generated some extra information about it, and now it's going into its own listing, or at least that's the plan. So that's number three. Now, there'll be more, basically, because our model that we're building is to take projects into the company, allocate them into internal development, internal exploration, and then some of those incoming projects will find their way into spinouts, probably after we've done a little bit more work on them to corporately and exploration-wise to take them forward one or two steps in their development pathway. We decide on the basis of a number of different factors, market attractiveness. So Canada with Victoria Goldfields, the size and scale of the opportunity, its need for funding and financing, its need for an independent management team, and all these different things come into play. So what you'll see with our business as we go forward is that I anticipate more opportunities will feed in, and some of them will take forward, and some of them will find a way down this development pathway externally in their own wrappers. And I think what perhaps we need to explain more is that we take something in, and maybe it costs us $500,000 to bring it in. We do work on the project, we take it forward, and then we put it into its own wrapper. If we could turn that $500,000 plus what we spend into something that on listing is worth a few $1,000,000, and we can do that 4 or 5 times, over the relatively short space of time, we could be generating quite considerable amounts of working capital. And that means that we get shares in the spin-out companies, we might get warrants, we might get royalties on spin-out projects. And certainly the shares and the warrants are something that we can, at some point in the future, sell, receive cash, and use that cash to fund our operations. And that's the point. That we can build that working capital, increase our access to cash, fund our exploration and corporate operations, and move towards what I call financial self-sufficiency, which is quite important for us.
Yeah, okay. So the ones that you put into their own independent listing, they almost warrant their own kind of separate vehicle, like you say, with separate management teams, and they're like a business in themselves.
They become a business in themselves. And I noticed a couple of comments about, well, how can you spin out something that's early stage? Do you not need something with a DFS, a definitive feasibility study, or a JORC compliant resource? Well, the answer is, I would say to the investors out there, look at your portfolio of junior resource shares. And I would say the majority of what people hold doesn't have a resource, doesn't have a DFS, is early stage, and yet still in many cases can attract valuations of tens of millions of pounds on the market. So just because we might be spinning out, as it were, early stage interest doesn't mean they can't attract a considerable value. And what happens if 2 or 3 of our spin-outs do start to attract a considerable value? Our balance sheet will swell in value. We'll have significant amounts of working capital. We can sell some of those shares going forward and generate considerable income in cash. Now, being on AIM is great because it means that we can raise working capital when we want to through traditional fundraisings. But what I've been saying now for some time is I don't want that to be our only source of capital. I want us to have organically generated money and move to a position where we don't have to go to the markets to raise further capital for our operations. But if we wanted to in the future, on terms that we are happy with, that protects our shareholders as they stand at the moment, then of course we may consider that. But that's what financial self-sufficiency gives you. It gives you optionality.
Okay. Very clear. Financial self-sufficiency. Okay, sounds like a good business model. Now, just on Canada briefly, you in the RNS you said that you accelerated your earning. So that clearly that's positive. That means you obviously like what you're seeing there.
Oh, we liked it from the first moment we saw it. We think apart from the fact it's a former working mine, and it was a very high grade former working mine, and you've seen that from some of the exploration results we've found. We always felt it had exploration upside. It had a big amount of potential in the background. We think as a project, it's perfect for a spin-out type situation. Well, okay. We hold a minority holding, of course, with 30%. To take it forward, it needs extra dedication, focus. It needs additional financial resource. It needs its own wrapper. So we can take something which is effectively our cost at the moment. We have to spend money to take it forward. And we've accelerated the earnings, so we've now got the 30%. It's all done, and we've done that to make it simple and straightforward, so we don't have to worry about, we're not quite there on the earning. As a business, Power Metal is well financed, so we can say, look, we need to pay you circa £60,000, I think it is, to clear off that exploration commitment. We issue you some stock to clear off the final buy-in hurdle, and then we get going with the spin-out transaction. We think in its own wrapper, with its own management team, with its own independent finance, so we don't have to put more money into it. It will be a tremendous vehicle. There's obviously a demand for high-quality silver projects at the moment, far more than perhaps the general market realises, which is great because it means it's a good time to spin that project out. And we think it could be one of the significant winners for our portfolio going forward.
Okay. Well, talking about one of significant winners for the portfolio, how is it going at Molopo Farms? You've got a third diamond drill turning.
Yeah, this is just another example of our model as a business. We are going dramatically for district scale exploration opportunities, and we are really going for it. We're not just talking about it. And I know to a certain extent that there is a lot of speculation in our markets, and perhaps one of the weaknesses we have as a business is that we don't really allow dramatic amounts of speculation. We keep telling people where we are and what we're doing. Well, Molopo is a very large area of ground in Botswana. It's a project where we've drilled 2 holes so far, and we're on to the 3rd hole now. We've demonstrated the feeder zone, which is exactly what we wanted to do. We've got evidence of sulfides in the core, which is fabulous. We're now waiting for the assay results to come back from the assay labs and also the work with the university that's being done. So we're going to get a lot more information. Obviously, we're desperately looking forward to getting that data back in. But whilst we're waiting, we're cracking on with the 3rd hole. And we've kind of finely tuned the location of the 3rd hole based on what we know so far, which is important for us. So we slightly paused the drill program just so we could target that 3rd hole in the optimal way possible. And we're cracking on. The only way you find these major deposits, and in Molopo, it's nickel sulfide PGMs is the focus. The only way you find them is by doing drilling. So we're drilling there. We've been drilling at Haneti with the RAB program in Tanzania, again looking for nickel sulfide PGM targets. And we're doing this kind of work across the world at the moment. Yeah, we are the most active exploration company I know.
Really? Okay, fantastic. I know there's a lot going on for Power Metals. How do you feel that the market is right now? It seems a bit soft at the moment, these last sort of 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've pulled back as a stock. I'm a bit of I've got to be careful what I say. I'm focused on Power at the minute. I almost think about nothing else in terms, certainly from a work-life perspective. So, as the largest shareholder in the company, when we see the share price fall from 3.5 pence down to just over 2, then I'm comfortable in the sense that I know where the business is going. I know the activities of the company. I wish directors could buy shares whenever they wanted to, because I always seem to be locked in, with inside information and close periods and all that kind of thing. Our business is so active all the time, it's difficult to just easily step into the market and acquire stock, which I like to do as many opportunities as I can. And when the share price pulls back, you think, if only I could do it now, but there you go. And my lights have just gone off.
You still look good, Paul.
Thank you very much. When the last one out turned the lights off. And I think the markets have been a little bit weaker. There's been a number of worries about various things, particularly there was at IG a couple of weeks ago with the margin, uplift, and when I think the metal prices were weakening and general sentiment was kind of falling. I know I've been doing the investing in natural resources for a long time, and the moment when you feel happiest is when you're about to lose a large amount of money. And when you feel a bit miserable and frustrated, like we are now, but the sector's still okay and it's going to, push forward. This is the moment when you have a real opportunity to take your positions and to see the valuations of the companies rise, and you make a lot of cash. So I suppose from a contrarian perspective, now is a great time. In terms of my business, everything I know, almost everything I know, is out there in the market because we update so regularly. And I am as optimistic as other shareholders in the company that we will get that barnstorming news on exploration of discovery or discoveries that will drive us to new heights and transform the company. We're pushing ahead with the work to do that. And in the interim, whilst we're doing that exploration work, what we're also doing is creating value in our business organically with the spinouts to make a proper business. So from 2 angles, our shareholders have the opportunity to make a lot of money. If we're successful in exploration and if we're successful on our corporate work. And I think that makes us different.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Paul Johnson, the CEO of Power Metal Resources. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you, Mark. And next time I'll make sure the lights stay on.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.